Welcome, Brooke, to the Thank Goddess podcast. I am very excited to have you join me today. We are going to be diving into the tarot, and I think that's something that so many of my listeners are probably familiar with. I'm sure there's people that practice tarot that listen to this. And I'm sure if they don't, they're probably curious about it, particularly if they're tuning into this episode. So I thought you'd be such a wonderful person to talk about the tarot, and we're going to specifically dive into some of the divine feminine archetypes within the tarot, which I'm excited to pick your brain on. But before we get into all of that, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and how your journey with tarot kind of evolved. Like, what was it that spoke to you about the tarot? Like, what was it that hooked you really compared to, I suppose, other different modalities that are out there?
Firstly, thank you for having me, Danielle. Super excited to be here and talk all things tarot. I just absolutely love it. So how I got started essentially was I essentially moved to Melbourne, start of lockdown, and I have always had some psychic abilities. Was just starting on my clairvoyant ability journey as well. And I needed a tool essentially to understand what was going on. Why was everything happening to me? Why were all of these dreams happening and messages flooding through? It was a great way to kind of organize those thoughts and be able to communicate. And, if we're talking about the divine feminine as well, it's really connecting to that intuition and
Mm.
helping it grow. And tarot is a great way to nurture your intuition and your connection to that, as well as connecting to like my ancestors and my guides. I feel a big connection to my female lineage.
Mhm.
And so, they've been through a lot and they really help me deliver messages through the tarot. I healed from a lot of, actually, to get deep and serious, I healed from a lot of family abuse and memories that were coming back that I'd pushed down. I didn't actually know existed. And then they were kind of coming at me in COVID, I guess, because I'd finally slowed down, no job, and just moved to another country. And yeah, I learned about who I really was outside of the abuse and maybe where I was acting from with the filter of abuse over me through tarot. And it honestly saved my life. And now I'm kind of dedicating my life to help others through what they're going through as well.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I deeply relate in terms of the slowing down during COVID, because I think for me, and I'm sure so many people listening to this, that was a time where we've never seen anything in the world like that. And I think it was just that being forced to slow down for a lot of people, it pushed them to deal with a lot of suppressed trauma. I know that is exactly what happened to me. A lot of childhood repressed memories, abuse. So that all came up in that time. So it was just, I relate so much what you're speaking about. And I find it so beautiful that you went to tarot and that kind of helped you heal and even to connect with your ancestors, as you said. I'd love to kind of just because you mentioned that, I'm curious to hear a little bit more about how you use tarot to connect to you mentioned about the women, the matriarchal lineage. Like, how did you use tarot to connect with that side? I'm very curious.
Yes, I know you probably know a little bit about astrology, don't you? So
Mm,
Pluto is right on top of my Neptune this year as well. And so my dreams and connection to spirituality and my ancestors through my dreams has just been so vivid. Full
mm,
conversations. They we actually sit around a table and they touch my shoulder and they download images. And my lineage, I'm actually Māori, which is, the indigenous, I guess, culture of New Zealand. And they went through a lot of abuse. And,
mm,
we're talking abuse at the hands of men and their culture being stolen from them, the introduction of alcohol and gambling and drugs as well to their cultures. And yeah, that I was told by my grandma, who's very in touch with the Māori land, that I come from a long lineage of healers. And
mm,
yeah, they told me in my dream that my mum and my grandma unfortunately did not lean into their healing gifts. They kind of ignore them, I think, because of earthly experience, and a lot of chaotic stuff going on in their lives. But it's returning with me, and they're really happy with that. And so the tarot, yeah, it's I've been able to connect outside of my dreams now. And I say a little prayer. I, use some protection as well to connect to them. And they tell me what to do next, how to proceed, and really, really give me some insight as well when I'm reading for certain types of people, especially with women and their issues in relationships. They come forth a lot because that is my generational trauma line, is issues with relationships and giving away our feminine power.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Oh, yeah, I just got truth bumps as you were speaking all of that. So that's so cool that you
Wow.
have so much support. I think there's a lot of
So grateful.
women, yeah, here in this at this time. I know for myself, like healing that feminine within our lineage, because it's like I think you'll find, as you mentioned, it's just like it ancestrally. This has been going on from lifetime after lifetime, and I think we're at this point now where we can, I suppose, be as expressed and come out in our magic and our power and us, our spiritual gifts. This
Mm,
is the time to be seen in that. But there's so much like repression, suppression,
yeah.
oppression of that we're dealing with. But it's exciting. I love hearing that story and your journey with that. And I can't wait to see your evolution now that we're connected, and how I
Yeah.
just feel like, I
Yeah.
don't know, I just get the sense that it's just the beginning for you.
Wow, thank you so
So,
much. Well, I think I actually replicate or mirror the experience of women everywhere in the
mm,
divine feminine. Like we are coming into our gifts. We are no longer, letting things hold us back. And the more we dive in through tools like tarot and astrology and even human design and like Akashic records, like let's look into why we're here and what was the story behind us, what are we here to shed, and how can we help lift, like let's lift the earth to a better place.
mm, amen. So I would like to ask you then, because I know, and I get this a lot from women in my community, and I think it's because I personally have dealt with this trauma, and I've had a lot of, I suppose it's been a journey of me kind of coming out of, I call it the broom closet, and kind of coming out with my spiritual gifts and delving into tarot, delving into astrology. I feel very called to work with these different tools and modalities. And then I come from religion, which tells me that that stuff is demonic and it's the devil, and, shouldn't dive into divination. And I see a lot of women kind of come into my spaces again, probably because of the mirror thing going on.
Yes.
And they also struggle with that. They're feeling a call to maybe delve into these things like tarot, but then there's this fear like, oh, is this wrong? It feels taboo. And then there's also all the, if they don't have that religious trauma, then there's a fear about some of the cards in the tarot, because maybe they've seen the death card or the devil card, and that's intimidating to them. So, do you have any, I suppose, words of encouragement for anyone who's facing that fear, or they feel like, is it wrong for me to kind of delve in to get a reading, or to start like practicing the tarot for myself?
Yes, well, I have actually had clients come to me. One particular springs to mind who is Muslim and
Mm,
actually a male, and
mm,
and I essentially told them that, hey, you're here for a reason. They actually found me on Google. They were Googling this information. They had a very broad mind, a very spiritual mind, and they got the call. Like you're
mm,
getting the call, and it's coming from somewhere. Whatever you believe in, it's coming from somewhere, whether it's your ancestors, your guides, God, you're getting the call to make that decision to connect, and they are trying to communicate with you. And they're going to do that in a way that they know how. So, obviously, being very intentional with your practice, if you go into it with good energy, you will come out of it with good energy. energy, as well as protection practices for sure, to protect your energy from, anything coming through, because sometimes some people are very naturally spiritual and naturally protected. So we want to have protection crystals. Black crystals are really good to have, as well as sage and Palo Santo, to protect, yeah, the energy and the aura. But definitely, if you're getting the call, it's for a reason. And the devil does not mean the devil. Death does
Mm,
not mean death either. What's funny actually is a lot of tarot readers could probably hate me for saying this, but anyone can read tarot. It really is just about understanding archetypes and messages and the cards. To which degree you use your intuition, every reader is different. We
mm,
all work with different senses, like the clair senses. There's clairvoyant, which is you're seeing things, clairaudient, you're hearing things, clairsentient, you're feeling things.
mm,
And there's smell, there's touch, there's all the senses involved. We as human beings all have access to all of these. It
mhm,
it just matters on how far you dive deep into that,
mm,
how far you learn and practice and study yourself and really stop ignoring those abilities, because we all have them. And so tarot is just a great gateway to add some physical reality to what you're feeling inside. It pulls out the deepest thoughts. A lot of readings, actually, people hear what I say and they go, you know what? I thought about that and I just shoved myself off. Like,
mm,
thank you for saying that, because you've just confirmed that for me. Like, that's you ignoring your intuition. That's you ignoring
mm.
the call. Tarot kind of pulls it out to where you can't ignore it. It's right in front of you. It's right in front of you, which is kind of amazing, really.
Yeah, I love that. And I think often, I mean, I suppose it's our society, how we've been raised. We haven't been really taught to trust our intuition. We all have it. I agree. Everyone is psychic to a certain degree. How much you delve into it, that's up to you. But we all have these abilities and they're all going to be, unique and look differently, but we all have them. And I know for myself, I love the cards, whether it's oracle decks, tarot. I love anything tangible, weaving it with the spiritual, because I think, yeah, because when we receive those messages, we receive our intuition. It's an intangible thing. Sometimes we can be like, am I making this up? Because we haven't been trained how to trust it.
Mhm.
And I love how you're saying about how the tarot is kind of like it's in your face, like it's showing you what you already know, I find.
Exactly.
But you can't ignore it when it's right there. And I
Yeah.
love also how you say that everyone can read the tarot, because I agree with that. And I also, as someone who studies the tarot as well, I find every tarot reader, like every book I read, it's different and everyone has their own interpretation. I suppose it's like astrology, like every astrologer is different. And I find that so fascinating. And it's so cool as well, because I think that's very feminine, like because of the
Mhm.
masculine model is it has to look like this and it's very linear and it's like one size fits all, whereas the feminine is multi-dimensional and it's like, why can't we have multiple interpretations of the one card? And it just
Exactly.
kind of varies with our experience and our outlook on life, which is really cool. And so I hope, everything that you've just shared is kind of opening up people listening to this to kind of explore it for themselves and not to shy away from it. So thank you so much. So what I would like to do now is kind of to dive into some of the archetypes, like I know we said we would do on today's episode. So in your opinion, as we mentioned, like every reader has their own interpretation of different cards. I'd like to hear your interpretation of some of the cards that I suppose display the divine feminine essence or the different flavors of the divine feminine. What are they and why do you think they are them? I suppose the best cards to represent that energy.
Yeah, okay, let's get into it. So I will start by actually mentioning the Empress and the High Priestess, as they are both major arcana and they're feminine energies of the major arcana. People can get them kind of confused, but they're actually very different
Mm,
areas of the feminine altogether. So we have the Empress, who is a lot more earthly. She's very nurturing. And she is a caregiver, she's a mother. Yeah, she represents fertility, as well as just like creating abundance. She creates life. So, if you see the Empress, you might not be pregnant. You might
Mm,
just be birthing something into reality, for example, a podcast or
mm,
your business, or you're thinking, all right, I'm going to quit my job. Like,
mm,
what am I going to create to make sure
mm,
that can happen? So yeah, the Empress is all about nurturing for me. And then we look at the High Priestess, who is different. She's very internal. And the key word for the High Priestess is knowing. She has
mm,
that inner knowing. So she is very intuitive and she connects to the secrets of the divine. She can channel messages and she just knows what to do. So High Priestess actually always comes forth in a lot of readings for people who come to me and they are a little bit frazzled and they will be like, what do I do? This option or this option? And I will definitely give them a lot of perspective on what to choose. However, often the High Priestess comes in and
mm.
saying, what do you feel? What do you know? What do you know?
They're like, no, I want you to tell me.
Yeah, I want you to tell me. And then the High Priestess is like, girl, you already know. Yeah, so they're very different. High Priestess is like unseen. It's the unseen where the Empress is the creation. It's what is seen.
Mm, I love that polarity and that distinction that you just made.
Mm. Yeah. And then if we go, so actually a little secret, arcana actually means secrets. So when we're
Mm,
talking major arcana, it's like the big secrets of life, the big secrets of the cycles of life. And then we're talking minor arcana, which is like the little secrets of the experience of life. So it's a lot more on
mm.
a smaller level.
Yeah.
So yeah, arcana means secrets if you weren't aware.
Oh, I love that. I haven't heard that actually. I always thought like major, yeah, bigger spiritual lessons and minor, yeah, probably more tangible, like, yeah, smaller kind of everyday type of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I never heard about, I like this idea of being a secret, the
Yeah.
mysteries even.
Literally, yeah. I mean, it puts it into perspective as well
Mm,
because you really are grabbing like secrets from the universe that could have been a secret, but no, it's not. It's being revealed, you know,
mm,
being open. But yeah, so and then we go into the minor arcana. We've got all the different queens. And I love seeing a queen in a reading because you can really tell a lot about a person's or a woman's personality through a queen showing forth in a reading. So obviously they represent the different elements. We've got the Queen of Cups, who is water. We're kind of similar to the High Priestess. However, she's a lot more in her emotions. Um,
mm,
so she's very intuitive. She's very empathic. She pours and pours love into everyone around her. She just lives and breathes love and compassion. One side to that is she can be very emotional. Now,
mm,
emotions don't have to be a bad thing. I feel like we
mhm,
have our emotions for a reason because women are understanding things. We're putting together the puzzle pieces. We're reading between the lines, and emotions help us do that. You read a person's emotions on their face, and you can tell a lot about how they feel and what the situation is.
mm,
Those are our Queen of Cups. They're good at reading people and they feel they're very compassionate.
mm.
And then we have a Queen of Wands. She's our fiery. I love Queen of Wands. Whenever I can, hell yes, like confidence. We're talking confidence here. Wands just lives authentically. She's so about just being herself and being very like extravagant and extroverted in her nature and in her quality. So we love to see a Queen of Wands, especially when we're talking artists or people who are out doing something different in the world. Queen of Wands
Mm.
shows, yeah, you're in your authentic path, baby.
I love that.
Yeah. Next we have Queen of Swords. So this is an interesting one. She's very intelligent. She's very wise. She's a little bit more on the logical side of the queens,
Mm,
actually. So you would definitely want a Queen of Swords coming through if you have an important message to deliver. If you need to communicate
mm,
something, this is saying, you've got the right information, you've got the facts present, go forth and communicate what you need to communicate. Um,
mm,
Me personally, I feel like growing up, I was very not Queen of Swords. I was very shy.
me too.
Yeah, and it takes like actually finding what you care about and shedding kind of those limited beliefs to step into the Queen of Swords. She's very
Mm,
powerful because
mm,
she's honest, and being honest is not always easy. Being kind for a lot of us comes naturally. Being
yeah.
honest is hard. Saying the
Yes.
truth, it is hard. So I really
Hmm.
respect Queen of Swords energy, because they are discerning, and they make stuff happen. They make
Mm, I love that. That's something that I've been really sitting with lately, particularly as learn more to speak, because I was someone who was very, very shy, and I've been on this journey of, I suppose, reclaiming my voice and stepping more into that Queen of Swords. And I love what you just mentioned there, which I just want to kind of drill into people,
yeah.
is how speaking from love, like I often think, like, what would love say in every situation? And sometimes the most loving thing is not being saying what people want to hear. And I think often
Absolutely.
we think that being loving is being kind and being, like being polite or saying what people want to hear. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is, like you say, deliver truth. And it could be exactly what someone doesn't want to hear. It could trigger people, but that is what is the most loving thing, because it kind of wakes them up from the illusion. And I feel like that is very much like that Queen of Swords archetype that you're speaking to. And it's not easy, it's not for the faint of heart, but I totally respect that archetype and what she has to teach us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Queen of Swords and even Queen of Wands with the confidence and the authentic expression, they kind of go against what old tradition is
Mm,
of what a woman should be. A woman should sit there and be polite and be quiet and always listen to what she's told, essentially. Where Queen of Wands and Queen of Swords, they say what needs to be said, they do what needs to be done. And so, we're talking modern woman here.
mm,
Awesome. Yeah, which I love. But yeah, leading into our final queen and being a Capricorn, Sun, Rising, and Venus, I resonate with this queen a lot.
ah,
Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, she's our earthy queen. So Queen of Pentacles is someone who's really focused on a stable grounding of life. So, this can speak to, of course, wanting to have your home in order, a safe, comfy place to rest your head. But then this can also speak to being resourceful, making stuff happen with limited resources.
mm,
Queen of Pentacles often is, the motherly energy who's cooking for everyone.
mm,
She's the person who can feel that you've got tense shoulders and she'll give you a massage. Like she's very in tune with everyone's bodies, with the earth, Mother Nature, and she just wants to use what resources we have in order to provide that stability and provide that comfort.
mm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. And I love also, yeah, because I think often when we see the pentacles, it's so easy to just kind of go
Honey,
towards the
yeah,
material money.
yeah.
And yeah, I relate. I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart. And yeah, I
Mm,
feel very like nature's a big one for me. And I think that's something that's overlooked with the earth, any of the earth signs or the earth cards. It's like, it's not just about money.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
like how you mentioned about that stability and it's more so the grounding, and it's like building that solid foundation so everyone feels safe.
Yes, exactly. She can be a businesswoman. Queen of Pentacles
Mm,
definitely be climbing that corporate ladder, for example, but it comes from an innate desire to protect and to provide stability to herself and potentially, a future a child. And so with the Queen of Pentacles energy, I really, really love it because these are our women who are going out and doing it in, potentially male-dominated fields as well.
mm,
And they're going, I can have a piece of the pie too.
mm.
Which we love. We love a queen who's ready to make a stance and, create a stable future and get that money.
Yeah, yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I love all the different facets of the Queen. And how can anyone listening to this who's, I suppose, maybe new to tarot or is like, okay, I understand it from like this intellectual level, this archetypal level, but then how do we bring that forward into our everyday way of being? And do you have any like practical tips for people to have like make it tangible, like actually use it to better their lives.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say kind of how I started with tarot and really using it as, a guide, if you will, and, connection to my guides. I would say that grabbing your journal and definitely writing down what you get. So you want to make sure you're intentional with your cards. So say if you're pulling three cards, what do those three cards mean? Past, present,
Mm,
future, mind, body, soul, perhaps what we're leaving behind, what we're moving towards, and some advice. Lay out that spread so that, there's no confusion, especially when you're learning. And I used to do it every morning and every night. Now, if you don't have the ability to do that, then
mm,
just one card a day. What's
mm,
the message of the day? And we all have time to pull one card.
mm,
Even if you're late for the bus, just take a photo of the booklet and read it on the
mm.
bus. And instead of thinking about what you have to do at work that day, you're not getting paid to do that. Wait till you get to work to worry about that stuff. This
Yeah.
is you time on that bus. So you read that card meaning and just think about what it means to you. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to your life? And say if it's a queen, you can definitely talk to your friends as well. And like, how about we do some art? Queen of Pentacles, is
Mm,
very like art and nature vibes. Like she
mm,
cares about her home environment. Queen of Wands, let's go do a pole dancing class.
mm.
You can really unite people through the message of the tarot as well.
I love that. That's such a great idea. I love like being creative with how you express it.
Mm,
Yeah, I personally, I'm at the point where I sometimes I'll do more like longer spreads, but I'll often just do a card a day, and I ask like what you're saying, like how is this going to express itself to me today? And I kind of just see what unfolds, and at the end of the day, I reflect on it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how it showed up. Often I
yeah.
find like for me, all my tarot spreads are like spot on, but it doesn't manifest in the way that my mind thinks it will manifest. Like I'll get a reading and I'm like, oh, I bet you it'll be like this. And then it will be nothing like I think. So it's constantly humbling me, I find the tarot, which I love. It kind of goes back to what you were saying in the beginning. It kind of really just shows you what you need to see. And it's often like showing you ways in which you can be egotistical
Yeah.
and yeah, brings you back down a little bit.
Yes, literally, actually, that reminds me. I remember one time I had a crush on someone, and then I was like, okay, am I being silly here? Because my intuition was saying no, but like, I still was like attracted to them. And then so I said, okay, like tarot guides, give me a message. And then I was shuffling the cards, a card flew out and landed, and it was the Fool in reverse. It was saying, don't be naive. This is not a new start. This is not someone who you're going to progress with. And it humbled me really quick.
Yeah,
I needed to know that because I was wasting my time and I wasn't listening to my gut.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that about tarot. It's just it sometimes it's a little it I say a gentle slap in the face, you know. I wouldn't say it's harsh, but it sometimes kind of wakes you up to where you're maybe like playing into illusions or with your ego. And that's why I personally find it more valuable than say oracle decks, because I mean I love oracle decks, but often they'll have more they lean towards like all these positive messages. And
Mm.
sometimes I find like the tarot, you know, I guess you pick and choose what you need for that day. Sometimes there is a time and a place for the oracle deck, but sometimes you do need that, I don't know, like kind of that wise elder, like that gentle slap in the face to be like, wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, I agree with the Oracle. I love to combine the two. I
Mm,
think they both bring that different perspectives. But yeah, like anyone listening who's interested in this, seriously, like don't be afraid to just try. And the more that you write it down, the more you reflect on what you wrote down, the more you will actually confirm to yourself, like, oh, hey, like I am in tune. Like I know
mm,
what I'm doing. And when you figure out that you know what you're doing and you have that direction, like you stop doubting yourself and opportunities come forth, your manifestations come forth because you are confident and you were raising that vibration. Like you were connecting to your intuition on a deeper, deeper, deeper level than you ever have before, which is giving you all the clarity you need for literally the rest of your life.
Mm.
It's life changing.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, thank you. And I think, yeah, that's just a beautiful way to kind of, I feel like that's a good place to kind of end it because you've just said like it's such a beautiful tool and like you're saying, it will deepen your connection to your intuition, which is such a huge and vital part of the divine feminine, right? It's and how you tap into that. I feel like it's that high priestess, that knowing, and we
Yes.
all have it.
You'll
And
have it.
so many of us are cut off to it. And it's like we need to bring that archetype back more forward in our society because we need that knowing, right? Where we're in tune with spirit and we're being led by that to make the right decisions to move us forward in the right direction.
Mm. I actually love that you mentioned the high priestess again because something popped, a little vision popped in my mind, and it was of essentially back way back in the day, we used to have high priestesses who would channel and use their intuition, right, to make decisions. So,
Mm,
when to go to war, all the masculine masculine decisions, when to go to war, when harvest was going to be fruitful, yeah, when to plant the seeds, when babies were coming, and we would literally look to women to make these decisions.
mm,
And for a long while, I guess the earth and the world like turned away from that. Um,
mm,
and Pluto and Capricorn, we got very involved in money and business and status.
mm-hmm,
But with this Pluto and Aquarius, I'm so ready for the feminine to just
mm-hmm,
take back its rightful place, leading with receptivity and awareness and connecting the dots, like using
mm,
our womanly God-given intuition. It's so powerful.
mm. Multi-dimensional. Mm.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the final question I want to ask you, and this is something I ask all my guests on the podcast, and that is because you're on the Thank Goddess podcast. This podcast is about awakening goddess consciousness within ourselves and the world at large. So, my final question to you, actually, before I get into that, how I describe goddess consciousness is, what we've talked about today with the divine feminine archetypes. It's the inner knowing, the high priestess, it's the empress, right? It's the different queen archetypes, right? When we're tapped into that. And so, when do you feel most aligned with the goddess or goddess consciousness?
Ooh. Oh, there are so many answers for this, I feel like. It's interesting. I actually feel very aligned with the goddess archetype when I am feeling in tune with my sacral chakra.
Mm,
So this is where our feminine power comes from, and this is where we create. And so, there are actually a lot of women out there who have had bad sexual experiences to
mm,
where you're blocked there. And more often than not, you will find those people are the ones saying they can't connect to their intuition. So
mm,
when I am like dancing, moving my hips, even, pleasuring myself with the
mm,
sexual like things like that is connecting to that power of creation. Like we create life, and that is the ultimate.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that forward. So beautiful. And finally, where can people find you if they're wanting to maybe receive a reading from you or you have any other services you want to advertise here? Then go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram is at 888 Brooke. And yeah, I do tarot and astrology readings, as well as I work one-on-one with women in something called the Cosmic Alignment Program. And you learn about how to read tarot, astrology, how to read your birth chart, as well as how to connect to your clair senses, your psychic gifts, if you will, read your dreams, a bunch of fun stuff. So yeah. Oh, I also have a tarot and wine event. If anyone's listening from Melbourne, next Wednesday, 4th of December. Oh, this will be done now.
Will you be
But
holding another
we
one
have
in the
another one.
future?
Yes, we have another wine and tarot event. Yep, you can meet some cool people, drink some wine, and pull some tarot cards. So this is right up your alley. We will be holding one at the early Feb. So yeah, follow Wine and Friends Instagram for that one. Yeah.
Amazing. I definitely want to check out your event. I can't make the one in December, but hopefully February I will be there.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. It's a great way for all of us to connect over some wine and some tarot.
Mm. Oh, I'm excited. Well, this has been so much fun. I've loved speaking to you and just diving into these different tarot cards and archetypes. I appreciate all your wisdom and how vulnerable and open you've been throughout this episode.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
hopefully we'll connect again in the future.
Yes, I would love to, Danielle. Thanks so much for having me. It's been amazing.
Mm.